Hello, it is Monday meetup and a little bit early today, but I hope everybody got the notice. Today is just sort of an interesting day. I've had lots of different topics floating around in my head over the weekend, and since I got my braces on actually. That night, and I'll just sort of tie it in because I've got 3 books I've been reading. One's about affirmations and prosperity. One's about, the dynamic laws of prosperity, Catherine Ponder, really powerful. Same Soul, Many Bodies, Brian Weiss. And another one on the shadow by a doctor and how to incorporate your shadow. I thought I had that one here with me, but I don't. But trying to, because I've had all these thoughts going around. Hi, Katie. Nice to see you. Trying to synthesize what it's all coming together. And what I'm finding is, even with my clients, typically when I have work with clients, I find mirrors in every single session. There's something there for me. And so what's been coming up a lot lately as recommendations from their spirit guides and angels for a lot of my clients is journaling, positive affirmations. And so looking at that in my life, and journaling is one thing of the power of words that I have not been utilizing. And I know that my guides are trying to get that message to me to start writing, to start just generating thought and getting it out there and seeing what's coming up from my shadow, what's coming from my unconscious. Because the 3 books I'm looking at are all about affirmations, are all about past and future lives, and about incorporating our shadow. So one of the things that happened last Thursday night after I got my braces, and this is another tie-in that I just feel like, some might call it crazy. I can't imagine why it's coming in as a thought, but it really felt real for me. That night, I could actually feel my teeth being pulled immediately. You get these on, and if you've had braces, things start moving. I used to have dreams all the time. I don't know if you guys have, where my teeth felt like they were falling out. My permanent teeth were loose and falling out, and it was a horrible feeling when I'd wake up and go, oh my God, are my teeth falling out? And so now that they're actually physically being forced to move, they are moving around and I can feel them. And so it's creating that space, right? It's moving everything out and around to create space. And oddly enough, in the middle of the night, Thursday night, I woke up and it was like I had an epiphany and something broke free energetically from my heart. And I knew at that moment that it had been a culmination of all of the work I'd been doing with my shadow and with creating space and affirmations. And I literally had the tie-in that came to me about the post that I had done earlier that week about how we need space to create miracles. It's within space that miracles get created. And it really clicked for me that, oh my goodness, even in all the energy that's held in my mouth, between my teeth, because our teeth, just like our feet, I'm a reflexologist, so our feet mirror every single system in our body, right? So our teeth do too. There's actually charts out there you can look up and see what organs teeth relate to. So when you're having specific problems in the body, there can oftentimes be tooth pain or it works in both directions, but you can actually get clues or indicators by looking at the tooth chart of emotional challenges going on, other body systems that are out of alignment. That's the great reason that they recommend getting metal out of your teeth, because it has such a toxic effect on the entire body. And quite often, if you look at which teeth you have metal cavities in, and you see what organs are linked to that, you might be having physical challenges in those organs, and it's tied to that metal. So I thought it interesting that as I felt space being created, I woke up and something had broken free energetically within me. And I know that it had to do with a lot of the healing I've done in my past, and just finally another piece of the energetics releasing. And then it broke something free for me to face some of my shadow pieces and really learning. I've worked with shadow. I used to teach workshops on diving into your shadow and releasing some of it. And I had a very different perspective then of shadow since reading this book that was recommended to me by my own coach. I sat up last night at 2:30 in the morning for an hour and a half, flying through this book because it was so fascinating, how our shadow aspect comes into being with every creative act. And that typically in society, we shun our shadow. We want to become civilized, and we need to be out of our shadow aspects and into polite behavior or acceptable behaviors to be part of a community. And yet in doing that, we disown our shadow. We push it to the side rather than owning and incorporating it. And he brings up all these great examples of how, as we create, the equal and opposite creation is there facilitated within us as well. And a lot of times it gets buried and shoved down until we all of a sudden have a burst out of anger or rudeness or something that's not okay with civilized society, where, that comes out because it's part of our shadow that's created as we create light and beautiful gifts within ourselves and in our lives. And so trying to become friends with that shadow instead of allowing it to come out and be impolite or rude or get to a situation where we're embarrassed by it. How do we incorporate that energy and use it to benefit, to positive? And so that's certainly a whole other topic of discussion. I really need to digest that information more, and I hope I haven't confused it by sharing it. But what the whole roundabout thing of this is that Spirit is calling me to look at my shadow. Spirit's calling me to look at space creation and miracles. Affirmations and journaling are coming across through all my clients. So what do I do with those messages? The power of words. Everything in our mind, we're creating a reality. And that got honed in again for me on the weekend. I go to a Center for Spiritual Living. They're a science of mind based. And the Reverend there, Reverend Lisa, gives amazing talks all the time. And they use affirmations regularly about how much of our environment is created with the power of our mind. And so just as an example, I've been using affirmations since starting my business on visualizing the clients and I'm connecting on visualizing the things that I want to create as far as events or a sacred space. And so writing down an affirmation, and that's where writing and journaling becomes helpful, because we sit and we jot down ideas, and it's a way to process and bring out what really needs to be honed in and shared. And as we write, the key points, the key words jump out at us. And I wanted to share one that hit me last night, because as I was reading in this Catherine Ponder book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, and prosperity, our goodness, isn't just about money or financial abundance. Our goodness is abundance in every way in our life. And really owning the fact that God didn't create us to be in poverty consciousness or to live without abundance and all that we need. We are children of God, and God wants us, as any parent does, to have everything. You know, if you're a parent, imagine how much you want for your kids. You want to give them the world, right? You want to give them everything. So much so does our Creator, Spirit, God, Mother, Father, God, that I believe created us, and whatever you want to call that energy, we came from somewhere, and that goodness wants us to have goodness. And so there's a martyr aspect that's looked at in the world as sometimes being a sainted outlook on life, when really it's just honing more poverty consciousness instead of bringing everyone up into the light that they have and the goodness that they have. And I had to highlight this one because I want to incorporate in my daily affirmations. I stir up the gifts of God within me and around me, and I am blessed on every hand with happiness, success, and true achievement. And I just found that so beautiful. It just was one that really stuck out to me. And I know that words have always been a beautiful aspect of my life. They've inspired me. I love reading and sharing great quotes. But for me, language was always like music. I studied many languages: French, Russian, German, Japanese, and Spanish. I was a linguistics major in college. And there's a beauty to it and a beauty in communication. And I love that about teaching, where you start to realize how everyone receives a message in a different way, and how the power of words said to one person mean nothing to another because they're a visual learner. So how can you reframe that to give a visual image to that person so that they can grasp it? And so knowing now that not only are words beautiful, and the term of eloquence is something that I always strive for. That's been a thing, not a measure, but something that I always appreciate in other speakers is their eloquence, and even just the beauty of specific words. I used to, as a kid, hear a word and just sit with it and go, how did that word come into being? Like tree. Why is it called a tree? But other words that are really beautiful. And even I used to play a game with my sons when they were like 4 and 5, my older one. And I would just say the longest words I could think of so that he could repeat them and have those string of sounds, because he thought that was really fun. And maybe it's just, some character aspect of me, part of my personality trait, because I love sound and words and strings together, that was a fun game for us. And everyone might be listening to me going, that is so weird, so crazy. And that's okay, because it brought me joy. And so I guess all in all, I'm just trying to say that everything comes together in our life. And for some reason, all the power of words coming to me by these authors, and I do need to mention Brian Weiss, because this book is another powerful concept that really, really came forward with this epiphany I had last week, because it was bringing me into the understanding of empathy and the whole reason we're here as souls on this journey. The first book I read of his, Many Lives, Many Masters, was probably 10 years ago. And that was the first time that I really realized and started having my own conscious regressions into past life memories, and really understanding all the times that I've been here. And I did do a talk. It's on my YouTube channel or in my videos on the page about past lives, a lot more in depth that you can access if that interests you. But what I found in this new one, his work accelerated into going into future progressions with people, where he's able to take them into future potentials and see if they don't learn the lessons now, or how the lessons that they're going through now and in past lives tie into what their future could look like if they don't shift something now. And that every time they go into a life review, when they've finished a life or are looking at a future potential life, because as we go into the future, there's actually different timelines that open up of potentiality of where we can actually incarnate into. And that is another fascinating topic in itself we probably need to dive into one day. But the whole aspect of it is, what life lessons did we learn from it? Did we come to the point of love and empathy? And empathy and compassion is the key. Hi, Robert. Nice to see you. It's been a while. So going into empathy and compassion, and really the whole point of any journey, it's not about how successful we are, about how many people we touch and share. That gives us personal reward. That gives us satisfaction. That uses our gifts. But in the end, if we haven't come to a place of compassion and empathy in our heart, then there will be more lessons for us as a soul to incorporate down the road. And that was another piece of what I woke up with, that band freeing from my heart energetically Thursday night. That was connected to some past stuff, connected to some of the issues that are being spaced out in my teeth. And it was a real opening for me, because I thought I understood empathy as an empath. I can feel other people's stuff in my body quite easily. I've had to shut it down, or learn how to shut it down to, move through the day, or life in general in a little easier manner. But empathy in the bigger picture, I think it took me to a new heart space. All of these, and that's why word is so important. What are you filling your mind with? What are you filling your thoughts with as far as your outgoing thoughts? And that's where journaling can help get some of the negative energy or shadow energy out in a positive way, so that it's not coming out verbally against others. And where also your creative insight can come through and give you your affirmations to work with and towards. But what are we filling our mind with? And that goes down to the music you listen to, the texts that you read, the shows that you're watching, because it all has an effect. And I know that by having 3 books on my plate at once and having all of those ideas and concepts and insights working through me simultaneously in my unconscious sleep state is when I can process on a really deep level. And I know that was part of waking up and having this whole new realization of what empathy is and how it acts and how it feels in the body, in life here. And it brought so much shadow aspect awareness to me of people that I had been unkind to, or a pattern that I have of responding in a negative or frustrated way when things aren't going the right way, whether they're moving into acceptance and empathy of the situation on both sides. And so it brought me to a beautiful place the next morning. I made some phone calls and texts, and some apologies went out of understanding myself from a different place, and that changes all of our relationships. So anyway, just that was on my heart to share today. I don't know if it made any sense, to be honest. Sometimes I get rambling and I feel like the thoughts come around full circle. So, gosh, Katie and Robert, I know Katie's been on for most of the call. If that made sense, feel free to just pipe in some thoughts or questions, comments. And hopefully it did. Hopefully it just sort of brought an insight somewhere about journaling or affirmations or texts or things that you're putting in your mind and in your heart every day, because it does affect our journey. It affects everything we create, everyone we interact with, because it's setting up the energy field that we're walking in on a regular daily basis. So with that, I'm going to wish you a great Monday. I hope beyond hope that this actually made sense. It'll be interesting to watch the replay, because I feel like it sort of went all over, but tied together in certain areas. So I'm going to check in with you again next Monday for sure, maybe before. I would love to see everybody at the webinar on Wednesday. It is free. You do have to register in order to have access to the replay if you can't make it at 11 o'clock. But I think there's going to be some great insights shared. It's 5 keys to a breakthrough. And that's my big focus with my work, is helping people into breakthroughs of their own. So ciao for now, and we'll see you soon. Bye.